Here we go, guys, a new unit. So now we're on unit 2, which is going to be all about equations. And the first one we're going to do is steps to solve a multi-step equation. So we did 1- and 2-step equations in the basic unit. Now we're going to be just more in depth of those equations. So there are a certain set of rules that you have to follow in order. It's kind of like order of operations when we do a multi-step equation. So the first step, oh, and I am not even a little bit calibrated. Let me calibrate this real quick. But you can go ahead and write it down. Number 1 is we are going to distribute if we need to. See if this is better. So step 1 is we're going to distribute if needed. Step 2 is we're going to simplify. Simplify each side of the equation, which means combine like terms. Combine like terms. That's what it means to simplify, and of course you already know that. And then step 3, of course, is going to be to solve it. So using the 1- or 2-step equations. I want to add a step 4 in here because we can always do it with solving equations. And this is why I love math, is because you can check your answers. So step 4 is always going to be we can check it. So if we look at number 1, there's nothing to distribute. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to step 2 and I'm going to simplify. I'm going to simplify if I can. So I look over here on the left-hand side of the equation and I see 9x and negative 7x. So I have 2x and a positive 1 and a negative 5, which is negative 4. And now that equals negative 20. Now I'm back to a 2-step equation. I'm going to add 4 to both sides, and I get 2x equals negative 16. And of course I divide 2 on both sides, and x equals negative 8. Okay? So there's really not a lot new that's going on, except the fact that we're going to combine like terms. And of course I can check my answer. I check my answer at this step after I already combine like terms. But if you're new to the process, you may want to make sure and you go back up and check it here. So I'm going to just check it real quick in my head almost. And I do 8 times 2 is a negative 16. Negative 16 and a negative 4 is a negative 20. That's what I'm looking for, so it checks out. I don't have to rewrite and evaluate when x is negative 8. I can if I want. But when I check it, I'm pretty good at knowing my rules, so I don't have to write it out. So negative 16 minus 4 is a negative 20, and that, of course, equals negative 20, and it checks out. If you're still new to evaluating and new to math, which a lot of you guys are, then you may want to write it down and check it. Most certainly, you want to check it on a test or a quiz. All right, so that's number 1. I'm going to do a couple of examples. Let's jump down here to number 4. So I distribute the negative 3. That's step 1, distribute. So negative 3k plus 24, because negative 3 times negative 8 is positive 24. When I distribute my negative, I get negative k, and a negative times a positive is a negative 5, and that equals 23. I combine my like terms, and I get negative 4k plus 19 equals 23. That was simplifying. Now I do my 2-step equation. I isolate my variable term, so I additive inverse negative 19 on both sides. I get negative 4k equals 4. Divide both sides by a negative 4, and I get k equals negative 1. And of course I box my answer. Excuse me. All right. Let's do number 5 together. So here I have 20 equals 10x, I'm going to distribute my negative 6, so I get negative 12x. Negative 6 times a positive 5 is a negative 30. Now I'm going to simplify my right-hand side, and 10k and negative 2k, negative 12k is a negative 2k, x, minus 30. Now I add 30 on both sides, and I get 50 equals negative 2k. Of course, I get my k by itself, so I divide both sides by negative 2. And then negative 25 equals k. Of course, I don't like my variable on the right-hand side, so I'm going to use what property? Symmetric, and I get k equals negative 25. Okay, so that's my fun answer there. Excuse me. Of course, it doesn't work in class. Why would it work now? All right, let's do one with a fraction, because you guys are still, I still want to see you in tutoring to do fractions, but let's walk through number 9 together. Excuse me. So 7 stays there. I'm going to distribute a negative 5 halves to 8r, and remember 2 and 8 cancel out. So that's negative 20r. Negative 5 halves times a negative 6 is going to be a positive 15 plus 2r equals 32. And if you're still questioning how I got this, come see me in tutoring so we can go over those fractions together. I combine my like terms and I get negative 18r, negative 20r, and positive 2r is negative 18r. And I have a positive 7 and a positive 15, which is a positive 22, and that equals 32. I'm going to subtract 22 on both sides, and I get negative 18r equals 10. Now I'm going to divide both sides by negative 18, and I have this r equals negative 10 over 18, or 10 over negative 18. It's just a negative rational number. But you wouldn't hand it in like this because you've got to reduce your fraction. So when I reduce my fraction, it's going to be negative 5/9. So r equals negative 5/9. Remember, we live in a fractional world, so fractions are always going to be a part of our answer. So just because you get here and it doesn't work out evenly, don't fret. It's still going to be an answer. All right, so that's it on multi-step equations. If you have questions in tutoring, come see me and we can work out these other problems that we didn't do. Real quick, the challenge here is you can pause it and see if we get the same thing as I work through it, so to give you a chance to do it. But now we're going to translate and solve. So 5 times the difference of twice a number and 3 decreased by the sum of the number and 8 equals 13. So see if you can read that and look at it. 5 times the difference of twice the number and 3 decreased by the sum of the number, which is x, and 8, it equals 13. So when you solve it, you get 10x minus 15 minus x minus 8 equals 13. 9x minus 23 equals 13. Add 23 to both sides. And I get 9x equals 36, and then x equals 4. So you should be getting an answer of 4 there. All right, if you have questions, come see me. Good luck.